Hi everybody, welcome to another video with me, Dr. Sarah. I'm back. I've been MIA for a little while and I've been busy undercover doing some really fun projects, finishing up on some journal articles, and I've been working on my website. There's actually going to be the option coming up within the next few months and into the new year for you guys to purchase bundles of educational fun with some of my suggestions on various topics on naturopathic, functional medicine, and natural health using essential oils, supplements, lifestyle. That 6-month challenge that I had previously done, I'm going to also have that as a bundle with additional information. And it's all going to be a very affordable one-time fee. You'll have access to it for a lifetime. And that'll be up on my website. And you'll have various options for purchasing whatever topic that you'd like. And this way, I will be able to continue to provide the free content to my non-subscribers, as well as provide additional details and educations and video trainings to those who want a little more detailed and more education and a little more guidance, but maybe don't necessarily need a full naturopathic and functional medicine consult with me. So be on the lookout for that. I'm really excited to hear your feedback and what you think and see how it goes. And today I want to talk about rose geranium essential oil. So this is the last video on rose geranium essential oil. I've already done a few. If you remember, I've kind of taken you on all aspects of rose geranium. We've gone a little geranium crazy here. We've talked about its general uses for skincare and for mood and for helping support the immune system and protecting us from invading microbes that we don't want. And we talked about also how it is very calming and helps with the stress response, which is very important. I went over this first about rose geranium and its connection with hormones, because when our stress levels go up, our hormones and our sex hormone synthesis goes down. Specifically, the hormone cortisol, which is the stress hormone, goes up, and estrogen, progesterone, and our ability to make those get suppressed because your body's trying to produce these chemicals, including epinephrine and norepinephrine, right? The adrenaline that makes us feel alert and awake and ready to run from any predator. These all rise in the body to get us to survive from this either perceived stress or real stress. Our body can't tell the difference. So when that happens, right, and your body's in a state of constant stress, whether it be emotional or maybe we're being exposed to some environmental toxins or have a body process that we don't want, or an imbalance in our body going on that's stressing out our bodies, the stress in our hormones go up in our body, and that decreases our reproductive health and capacity. There's actually a condition called stress-induced primary anovulation in women. And what that means is it is stress-induced, and it's primarily related to the stress, and it's causing a woman not to be able to ovulate. And ovulation is needed in order to have a fertile egg and also produce the baby, but this isn't happening, so a woman isn't getting their regular cycles. This is why it's really important to calm the brain down, and there's plenty of harmonizing essential oils that do that, rose geranium being one of them. And we also know that it's not just the aroma. The secondary metabolites, or those constituents that are found within essential oils, also affect our physiology to also balance out our biochemistry at the same time and calm the systems down. So that's a very important indirect way that some of these essential oils, which are deemed hormonal, are actually affecting our hormones, but not having a hormonal effect, if that makes sense, right? We know that today, from what we understand about phytoestrogens, which are estrogen-like molecules found in plants, they're different than the actual steroid hormones in our body, right? So the phytoestrogens have a different makeup than estrogen in our body, and they won't act the same way at the receptors in our cells. These little molecules hit receptors in the cell and tell the cell what to do. The receptors that the phytoestrogen hits is a little bit of a different spot than the ones that the estrogen hits. And this spot tends to be more balancing, whereas the estrogen will drive the cell into certain specific actions. So it's pretty neat how nature works and how it's going for the balance versus for a specific pathway, which is why some of these hormones, even some bioidentical hormones, have some side effects, right? Because we're actually putting in hormones into the body versus using something that's going to help balance out the levels of stress and the physiological processes in our body. So that's important to remember, that plants, the way that they affect hormones isn't directly on an estrogen level, which is good to know for women that are on hormones or women that are on maybe some chemotherapy from hormone-related cancers. So that's important to understand that there's a difference here. So that being said, here is the last article about hormonal health with rose geranium throughout a woman's lifespan. We know that from the previous blog, I talked about how it can calm the stress response during labor. So that's the beginning of a woman's lifespan, right? She's having the baby, and the baby is affected positively by decreasing that cortisol in the mom, which has effects on a baby's brain and emotional health later on, as well as physical health. There's also something I shared with you in the blog about this product called PMS Defense. And in it, it's a Google patented product that they use rose geranium as one of the key ingredients for relieving symptoms that occur with premenstrual cycle, PMS, right? The developers explained that the rose geranium is supportive of hormones, again, indirectly, and this was through balancing mood, stimulating adrenals, and relieving excess fluid. Now, those adrenals are what makes a lot of our stress hormones, as well as when a woman goes into menopause. It's kind of the backup hormone production. So this is a good thing to have support with. Now, when I looked at the cited references for these explanations, it was, again, more indirect references, but I did include that in my blog, which I will link to in this video so that you can check out those mechanisms for those out there that love the biochemistry and want to get into the nitty-gritty. So we've moved from labor to PMS, and now we're going to talk about actually going into the transition of menopause, where the hormonal cycle is going to cease for most women. And at that time, they did, fertility starts to wane, and they have done a pilot control clinical trial with the use of aromatherapy with a combination of lavender, rose geranium, rose, and jasmine diluted in almond and primrose oil, and they compared that to a wait-listed control. And what they found was that this massage group versus the wait-listed control was finding positive effects and relief from some of the symptoms of premenopause, such as hot flashes, mood, low mood, and pain. There was a caveat in that they didn't have a comparison just to a massage group, but they still found effects with the massage and aromatherapy. But the cool thing is there was a trial for postmenopausal women where they did control for the massage group versus the massage with the aromatherapy. And they used rose geranium essential oil in 120 of these postmenopausal women, and they found that the aromatherapy and massage oil were beneficial, but that the essential oils actually provided more benefit and reduced the mood issues that can occur with postmenopausal issues. So that was pretty cool, right? So we've gone from labor to PMS to menopause to postmenopause. We know that it continues to affect the stress, the mood, and how that indirectly affects hormones. I also found a holy moly coolness study, right? This was a big oily surprise for me. There was actually a small clinical trial on geranium and how it affected salivary estrogen levels in women. Say what? Yeah, I did say that. And this was actually showing that after women inhaled, they tested 10 different essential oils. Rose geranium was one of the oils that actually caused and facilitated a rise in salivary estrogen. And the article concluded that the present study may give support to the notion that olfactory exposure to some essential oils can influence salivary concentration of estrogen. I want you to note the wording, influence salivary concentration of estrogen. So we know that with different labs, there's caveats to those labs, right? We know that with any of them, whether it be serum, which is in the blood, whether it be salivary, which is in the saliva, or whether it be urinary metabolites, which are measuring the breakdown of these specific hormones in the body. They all can tell us certain things, but they can't give us the whole picture. So it's important that if a woman's going through hormonal issues, that you have somebody that understands that these three things are different, and they'll be able to work with you and either use a lab test and know what benefits they get from the lab test and what they're missing, and you know, talk to you about some of your various symptoms to try to get a full picture, or actually do all three if best. Because then you really know what's going on in the free hormone section with the saliva, what's going on with the bound hormones, and what's kind of floating on in the blood, and also what's going on, how your body's processing those hormones, right? Because someone could have really high estrogen levels in the blood, but they could also be removing those estrogens very quickly, right? So, or there could be a backup in their ability to remove those estrogens. So just giving them more progesterone wouldn't necessarily balance out that effect, because we're not allowing the woman to clear out the estrogens. We're just kind of, I've seen this a lot with the women in my clinic. They're just trying to balance that estrogen to progesterone ratio. Those two sex hormones that are, you know, that are supposedly going to off-balance the stress response. If we didn't even get to that, that's another whole issue. And then they're coming up with more hormonal imbalances because of it. So you really, you know, if you find that you're in hormonal havoc, it's really good to find somebody that can get a whole naturopathic, functional, and integrative look at what's going on with your hormonal health. So that's the caveat with this lab. Just because it said it raised salivary estrogen doesn't mean that it was estrogenic, right? There could have been a whole other way that it's influencing the body to allow these specific women in these trials that maybe needed that estrogen level to be balanced and a little higher to go up, right? There's issues with the salivary test in general too, just the accuracy and how it's collected. So that's another thing that we want to look at. So keep those things in mind, and here's the final conclusion, that some essential oils with rose geranium most likely modulate, right? They're going to balance the body where it needs to be as far as hormones with women and also with men, right? Because stress and environmental toxins, all these things affect men's testosterone levels, which, you know, that also, you know, affects, that stress is going to affect the testosterone production just similarly to women. So it probably is not going to come as a shocker, right? Because I said the same thing with fennel, with sage, and with clary sage. So now we're wrapping it up with rose geranium. So I hope that you found that helpful. I hope that if you're watching this when the time it is released, that you're getting excited about fall in New England, because I totally am. I love this time of year and cozy sweaters. And it's starting to get a little bit cooler. So I will be back with more of these essential oil videos and more health topics. I'd love to hear your feedback and comments and see if, let me know if there's anything that you want me to talk to you guys about. And also feel free to share your experience so that others can learn from you, because we're all here to learn this together, and I really look forward to hearing from you. And you'll probably also notice that my blog is in my website, and my database is now almost complete with all the essential oils. And it's unbranded, so all oil lovers can enjoy the research and share, and we can get that information out there. All right, I will be back, and you guys all have a wonderful day or evening, whatever time that you're watching this. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.